This is Stephen Schmidt for InsiderIowa.com. This week, President Barack Obama asked for the resignation of General McChrystal after the general was reported in a Rolling Stone magazine article to be so critical of the president, some of his advisors, and of American policy in Afghanistan. This has raised the question of whether this was an act of insubordination by the general, whether it was an unusual undermining of executive authority by someone underneath the executive, and whether this was another threat to democracy and to the civilian control of the military, or, now pay attention because I'm going to give you the other version of this, whether this was an example of how people working on very difficult problems often blow off steam with their colleagues over the manager, CEO, president, whoever happens to be the person in charge. Let me ask you, have you ever blown off steam with your colleagues, co-workers, friends, and others about the direction of leadership or policy for the organization that you work for? Most of us have. But most of us were not really undermining the authority and planning to threaten the chain of command of the person in charge. It's just that in many jobs, both in the private sector, in government, and in nonprofits, in religion, and in education, often the challenges are very big, the frustrations are very large, and you just blow off some steam because you're frustrated. So in the case of General McChrystal, the question is whether he in fact was threatening the chain of command, or whether it was just an example in a very, very difficult situation such as the war in Afghanistan of people basically, as they say, kvetching, complaining, and saying, how things should be different, even though, in fact, they were not planning to overthrow the government or threaten the authority of the leader. Very difficult situation. And as we face more and more problems that are complex and that are stressful, we're going to probably see a lot more examples of people basically blowing off and criticizing their leaders. And then the question is, should they all quit? What should we do about it? So your assignment is to think about that. Stephen Schmidt for InsiderIowa.com.